Chilly here with Sirius Taurus Moon and more Jupiter Leo. Of course, Jupiter is big. Leo's sign of the heart. So it's going to be a big series, big toes, big series, big issues of the heart. I want to talk about Moldavite because Jupiter trining Saturn can bring us the Moldavites back. And there are phases with the Moldavite. By the way, my Moldavite moment for this trine was seeking for Moldavite for investment within the shops that say that they buy from the miners. Yes, I did not fly to Besednica and so on. I'm not at that level of income at this moment. There's still residues of the Peter rings to drop so we can align with the heart. But this is um, something that came up, and there were no certifications. I was just left without an answer from the places that were considered the core in Israel. Yes, the core Moldavite sources that were approved. Actually, I would name the store named Stone Age for good in this case because they never promised. They never portray themselves. They're like they buy from the miners, but what do they know? Okay, they never pretended that they have a certification that they don't. It's also important where people buy for investment. Because with Moldavite, there are investment. Now, specimens for investment, um, for people that do fly, let's say, to the Sednice, are probably still possible. Um, but here is another thing I discovered about the Moldavite. Jupiter Leo, anything going to Leo now. Uranus rules divorce, not just divorces. Okay, have world-renowned astrology teacher that I talked about this so many times, Alada Zuncheva, where she met her third husband. And I think it was a Uranus transit as well, and around eclipses, and they were both after divorce and still together, I think. So I was actually astrologer, assassinated astrologer Nicola Stojanovic that told her, when she was married the second time, she thought everything was okay. She said, you will marry the third time, and this time it would be okay. It would be. So Uranus is very weird because it's unusual. It can be about divorce, but it also can be about the marriage that actually works. Now, for the generation that have Jupiter-Uranus combinations, even Uranus and Jupiter sign and so on and so forth, y'all folks, if y'all get married, y'all might have some of the highest capacities for happy, thriving marriage. Why? Because Uranus won't let you be with the wrong husband. Moldavite is Uranian stone. Now, anything going to Leo is aligning with the heart. Jupiter is the husband. Jupiter, Leo won't let you be with the wrong husband. We might have famous divorces. However, we also may have actually heart-related unions, particularly in about 12 years when we're going to have Jupiter there, and we may have Jupiter somewhat co-present with Rahu, or Rahu in the adjacent signs, because Jupiter is a 12 years cycle, and Rahu and Ketu tend to be every 9 to 12 years changing their position along the axis. And so if we have, let's say, divorces now, in about 12 years, we may have profound unions. Uranus, because it's outer planets, People may have their actual marriage, their actual happy marriage. First of all, people may have happy marriage. Uranus is a life energy. Whatever isn't, it divorces what doesn't fit in life. Beliefs, husbands, people, even children may take space from their parents. But actually, when they do come back, the relation might be so profoundly better. Or they can be profound rebellions, but actually, when things do align, they can be exceptionally thriving. Unusually, the song right about where there was the Peter ring drop and the rituals and this, there was this song called Ordinary. Okay, the angels up in the clouds are jealous because of what we found. I still think the woman is not shining enough there. As an astrologer, I'm like, but this woman has Sandasha. I have Sandasha right now. She would need to. she would not just be the folding, folding the clothes, and supporting her husband even when he's homeless. But these are the type of loves that can sustain through such transitions. Now, um, Uranupiter, it could be the Uranus Sag, even the Uranus Pisces. It will not let people. Now, here's the thing: Uranus rules astrology. Naturally, Uranus Sag thought to be what? The arranged marriage. Where would people in India, people would go to astrologer to see who to marry. And they would have arranged marriage by the astrologer as a part of the team of the arranged marriage with the people. Yes, I'm going through my Uranus opposition. What am I? So I know some of the people that I appreciate, admire, not just appreciate, admire the profound knowledge, their down-to-earth approach, they're challenging pretty much the caste system. But when they talk about arranged marriage, I say, oh, I ran into something, it's different. I'm not Indian, but when we come to share this knowledge globally, now, but Uranus is also the type of thing when it divorces what's no longer serving, it brings what does. And so, for example, if people would go to astrologer to match between couples, when I started to do astrology, I was learning aromatherapy after the Me Too, and I was thinking, okay, in the meantime, I will have small product of something that I developed, refined from learning about. I remember I learned a lot from Jewel, Truth in Aspect Astrology, and from Lara Dunchev, and I said, I noticed that, but Dito, and you're gonna see when your product is yours because you're gonna have a friction. It's like, they don't talk about. They don't talk. Instead of getting mad, talk about that. That's your product. That's your service. That's your value. That's your origin point. Because I have Uranus with Ketu in the 10th house, so it's like I would have this gut feeling, and I was like, no, 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 and that could be a world-renowned astrologer next to me, and I'm like, well, but it's true. Astrology of marriage, but it's also where we'd say, okay, if I think about my first product, if people were thinking to date somebody, thinking, let's say they swipe the person to maybe, they could ask for details and I could do compensative challenges in the composite chart. Small product, not all in compensating, not a billions of small product, small price. I had Mercury in the 2nd house. What could be possible challenges and what could they tend to? And then I did compasses before I did natal charts, and then I started saying, oh, there's a process of going there. Oh, but there's also something that's happening in society, societal change. Oh, the outer planets are basically the societal changes that the personal planets partake in. Uranupiter, people change their look at astrology, marriage, children, astrology of marriage, astrology of divorces, at divorces because of beliefs. But this will also be the thriving, the happiness points, where people comprise of a belief, ideology and belief, that they can actually grow a family too, or that they can grow a happy marriage too. Uranus will not allow us to have beliefs that are not compatible. I used to love Jesus. Then there was spiritual warfare, and I said, I can only love a man that is honoring. Where was Jesus to defend the Mary Magdalene? It was mother of his children. Are we taught Jesus wrong? I cannot say, oh, I love Jesus as a mantra and not expect the Jesus to be a man that would be healthy to be by. If this is my role model of a man, a spiritual man, a connected man, somebody that whose spirit or Christ, the consciousness, what is consciousness? Jupiter is the focus. I'm supposed to literally embody in my life, in my marriage, intimate life. It's not supposed to be inquisition. It's not supposed to be child trafficking. It's not supposed to be something that dishonors women or the feminine. Lilith is 2 meters from the galactic center, 2 centimeters from the galactic center. And I could say, and I can just say, oh, I love Jesus. If Jesus was a man that I was dating, would it be healthy for me to love Jesus? That's Uranus Sag. It won't let us to stay within that. Oh, but I don't mind what Orthodox Jews, so what? They're Orthodox, I'm secular. I don't mind. Yes, have you read the part in the Talmud where they basically trade infants? And people say, but this, and this Mishnah, and this Halakha, and this. It's not supposed to be vague. They perform genital mutilation at the baby that's 8 years old. And then they're threatened by Islam. Okay? Uranus won't let us. It's like, oh, I'm religiously tolerant. To what? But when we do address it, we find the source of happiness that's like, oh, wait a second. You want to tell me that if I practice aligning my root chakra to the crown chakra, not sacrificing upper for lower, lower for upper, which for me is like instinctual. I did not grow up in the rites of passages of the royal family of. Okay, at least not consciously aware of it. All kinds of weird experiments out there. But now, this is where I said, wait a second. But this practice is basically better than the schools of the earth. It's practice that will lead people to be successful, happy, thriving, wealthy, healthy, without normalizing rape, because I begin to sound like Abraham Hicks, but without normalizing rape. It also, when we talk about, Abraham Hicks manifesting, it's like, here's the frequency, and then when they confronted with the question of sexual boundary violation. Uranus won't let us be stuck and stagnant where it doesn't align. So Jupiter in Leo, sextiling Uranus. Jupiter co-present with Ketu. And by the way, even the astrology itself. It's not just how we use astrology. It's also the astrology itself. Oh, Aries is the war of choice, the disincluded. Aries is the elite. It's the people that profit off of making everybody fight with everybody and then bank on this. So we understand what is Aries. And then when Rahu Aries eclipses came up, we had the global intifada. Now juxtapose what I just said in this. Oh, Leo is the sun. The sun is considered a malefic. The sun is kings. The sun is, yes, it's the heart, but the sun is also, let's say, the ego, and the sun is pride, and the sun is the why everything going through Leo has a me too thingy. I looked at it and I was like, everything going through Leo has a me too. It's a young sign. It's not a yin sign. It's not Venus. It's not even the moon. It's not Lilith. Why everything has it? And I looked and I looked and I looked and I was like, well, it needs to align with the heart. If we were misandria, it would be about men's rights. If I look at Iceland and I look at women's rights, they say sometimes we need to help men when they are being mistreated, and sometimes we need to help women when they are being mistreated. And of course, I look at Iceland. I don't look at Afghanistan when I talk about human rights in my country. No. Okay, just the same way, If I study mathematics, I don't remember the name of mathematician, where there was a problem, the teacher left a problem. He never said anything about the problem, just left the problem. He thought it was homework. He did homework, he solved the problem. That problem was one of the greatest mysteries of the open mathematical questions of the century. And I said, this is a good teacher. And of course, this is a good student. I'm a millennial that grew up in settings that are close to their settings. Okay, I grew up listening to people like Richard Feynman. But I also grew up to a parent that if I got, let's say, good grade, the parent was, if I got not so good grade, the parent was, happens. Flat line. So you deal with the world's biggest problems, and you're like, well, I need to sort this thing out. No, but this needs to be like that. It cannot be like that. But this is but it's still true. And 30 million files drop. I'm not the only one thinking that. I said, what if we grew all children think about Albert Einstein? He had good pattern recognition, so he identified, and I have to give a shout out. I hope I find this channel such a great channel. This lady brings up the things to do with racial rights and so on, but from perspective is completely new. Things we didn't know about. Rosa Parks, that was activist for black people's rights way before the event that everybody discusses. Now, I don't find it here. Yeah, you can see all of my feet, but I don't find it here. Oh, there it is, Ashley B. Ashley B on YouTube. Wonderful content. And when she talks about Albert Einstein, she said Albert Einstein was against racial segregation. Now, of course, a man with good pattern recognition would say he escaped to Germany. He has to do paperclip in America. And he had somewhat of interesting relations with children, let's say. But still, he had good pattern recognition other than that. And he says, well, segregation of BIPOC people doesn't make sense. If I take a Richard Feynman, he had a sister, and this sister would pick up a physics book and say, but it's hard. The Feynman said, what do you think? What do you think I did? He has Mercury in Taurus. Said, I read it, then I read it again, 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 until I understood what's actually happening there. There's two different perspectives. And how these two different perspectives have brought completely different way of doing the same thing. Logic, thinking, problem solving. Person that thinks logically doesn't see why, let's say if white people are given opportunities for education, why should people not be given? Or vice versa. And don't think that vice versa doesn't matter now. Now, more Jupiter Leo and the Uranus Leo. Now going back to Moldavite. The recent information I got on Moldavite is that to some people they were wearing Moldavite and it brought divorce. It's because it's a stone associated with Uranus as well. Why? Uranus also rules the space, and this is a form of a tektite. It's basically associated with the fall of a meteorite or volcanic glass. It's basically a sort of a glass. It's not a formation of the crystals. Now, with Moldavite, people talk about divorces as well, sudden life changes, because it has this Uranus quality to it. Uranus, Moldavite will both show us where, for these people, they were trying to be on a frequency, the frequency of love. But it will also not allow us to be, let's say if a Moldavite sees us processing certain things, the Moldavite itself would disappear. The Moldavite itself would go away. This process with the stone, with the Moldavite, that first of all, even people that are not sensitive to energy crystals, they do experience the Moldavite. And I predict that Saturn, it's not an exact bisextile with Uranus and Jupiter, is going to bring back another wave of the Moldavites. Was the waves of Moldavite a part of, let's say, the fall of the Peter rings? Now they say, people need to work with the Moldavite when they're very grounded and so on. So some people have this experience, some people have but other experiences. It's definitely stone aligned with Uranus is not a peaceful revolution. People join usually more crystals to Moldavite. Because there's something very purifying about this energy. Uranus also rules communities. So it's purifying on a communal level. Is what it doesn't allow is cult-based communities. Fantastic for our times. Is it a normal process of, oh, it's just going to, no. It stirs the things that are to be not just transmuted, but completely dissolved. Uranus also rules space. There's a lot of communities that are going to see that they need way more space between the individuals. This is also where the divorce part that people also talk about, Moldavite, but also Uranus, begins to arise. People won't be able to tolerate one another within a space that does not allow for each of them to exist. Even when I talk about the naval Munakshatra or Munakshatra karmic ropes, people won't be able to tolerate these karmic ropes. But they will also not be able to tolerate getting into another karmic rope. The things that used to work for communities to subdue their individuals are going to Krakatoa erupt away. Think Krakatoa meets, if a tektite is an asteroid falling into the Earth. Think Krakatoa meeting Tunguska. Do we actually have to purchase a Moldavite to work with it? No, it's a frequency. I think a lot of people are just going to feel these changes. Somebody around worked with Moldavite. Somebody around was thinking to get a Moldavite. We may think back to over the times we worked with Moldavite. What happened? What did it expose? What did it expose? What did it no longer allowed to have within one's framework? What was it showing as well? And what communities it began, the divorces also began to be within communities. Think about Moldavite and intentional communities. Moldavite can bring people together, but it can also not make it tolerable for intentional communities that are not honoring of the authentic sovereign individual to exist. Moldavite can create a sudden behavior. Even one of the really, really acute cases that I saw was a woman that was very likely raped in infanthood, that she was being looked down by the family, the father, and mistreated. That the mental health care was not honoring, it was traumatizing. She was almost harming an infant. And it was, to me, it was shocking. And she was very Moldavite. It was like shocking. But almost a decade after, half a decade after, I was like, wait a second. She was mistreated. Her infant self was mistreated. If an infant would have done that, that infant would have been, how do we treat an infant that suddenly goes, I don't know, broke or whatnot? An adult hugs that infant and peacefully calms the spirit of the infant, maintains the space of the infant, takes the infant into space where they are contained, where they're radically accepted, but where the nervous system is being balanced, and then peacefully say, okay, what was bothering you? How do we resolve this without throwing things at other people? Now think about Iran and Israel. Did you know that the discourse in Israel, when Donald Trump said, okay, I don't want people to die, we want agreement, we don't want Iran to have more A-bombs and so on, Israel was disappointed. But if they would throw this on Iran, what do they think that Iran would do to the region? We are the region. Even if we weren't a part of the war. And Israel was like, but we need to, why doesn't he do something? Why is he not man enough with? It's not a surprise that such an incident happens where a woman almost harms infant in such territories. And again, I'm not wearing a Moldavite on. Moldavite can be unsettling. And those infants would later diagnosed as neurodivergent. Both the infant and then later the child who was born after the incident, way after the incident. But wait a second, a 3-year-old kid is high-functioning autistic according to what diagnosis? Or they woke up in bed screaming and there was nothing. Maybe they were attacked, maybe there were technologies used on them, there is war with Iran, there is... No, the doctor said that this and that, they don't help grandma. They're 3 years old. 3 years. Everybody going along with the diagnosis, the child is being medicated. What do medication do? Harms the mineral absorption. What does it do? It could cause the child to be like that lady. Now, if they are going to treat him like they treated that lady, now, that lady came about before the other child was born. Everybody had omens, signs, shocking behavior. What is it? Oh, wait a second, that lady was treated within a medical mental health that forces substance into the body of the person that makes them more violent. And everybody trying to lock down a person that was harmed when they were an infant, when they were being helpless. Now, what happens to these infants, regardless of that incident? The infant that was born after that incident, they're being diagnosed as neurodivergence because they wake up at night screaming. And at age 3, at the ample old age of 3, they don't help grandma. Now, and then they think to confiscate homeschooling and to normalize pedophilia and then we'll take a look at that incident. It was a shocking incident. And we say, wait a second. Shocking incident. How do we treat that shocking incident? Even if we go to the most radical, did that lady have access to euthanasia? No. There's no euthanasia in Israel. Doesn't mean that that would be the solution. Can 2 children that grow with the mom and the grandmom in a 2-room apartment be normal? A lot of people say, well, we grew 8 children, 6 children. How many cases of incest there were between those 8 children, 6 children, 7 children? How many traumas? Oh, but we grew with little and we got along and with this and with that. Mm-hmm. All the children need therapy. No, 3 divorced, none of them. The minute they could opt out, So yes, one of my predictions with this almost bisextile of Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus is another Moldavite wave. And Moldavite waves, it's when Moldavite is becoming trendy. When Saturn was squaring Uranus, Moldavite was becoming trendy again. Um, Around the Epstein, that sozusagen a little bit before that, Moldavite was becoming trendy. I think Saturn was still in Jupiter's sign, and then we had a combination of Jupiter was already in Scorpio, I believe, of Jupiter-Saturn combination, and then it was already beginning to have a closing trine with Uranus. So we have these Jupiter-Saturn-Uranus combinations around the waves of Moldavitus. The Saturn square Uranus accentuated the community aspect of Moldavite, but also it began to bring up a situation of how should I say, discernment regarding what entities, even in psychedelics, people began to sort the wheat from the chaff with asking what are the channeling, what are the downloading. And there's going to be, with an outer planet involved, the community, what are the community tendencies people are going to be part of. If the current almost bisextile is around people's personal placements, the Moldavite wave is likely to also affect them. I remember when Uranus was in Taurus, the incident was at the neighborhood. And Uranus was in my third house, so something happened in my third house, at the neighborhood with the neighbors.
Нет, так померил, вдруг подойдет, он не странно.
Then also event missing, there was the Uranus-Pluto. So I think the first Moldavite went missing in the bathroom. And then there was a situation where the door handle was broken, and I had to break through the bathroom door. So it's a 12th house, having to do an action of escaping being locked. And this was, I think, around the lockdown of COVID. Now that Moldavite disappeared into the plumbing system of the building. Later, the Moldavite would be in the garden, and then I would begin to do rewilding. I began with the half moons. That is the cornerstone for rewilding. Yes, before that, of course, there was a neighbor, somebody in the vicinity that was wearing a Moldavite. It was not even me. And I saw what happened, and I was shocked. I was really shocked. I was like, what? They could harm an infant. And then at the same time, I knew that, wait a second, if she's been locked at the home, and people treat her as what the treatment for mental health right now is causing this. But for me, it was difficult to accept this, because it was like, wait a second, its behavior is so shocking. Later, there would be cases of mothers that harmed their children. the neurodivergence, those cases that happened with the infants. People with energy, Moldavite being too strong, because Uranus, they have to look at the hemispheres. Did they go through something that was harming their hemispheres? This is why there were a lot of attempts to subjugate Moldavite now. When Uranus is not something that can be subjugated. Yes, it's not black moon millet, but Uranus is breaking free from subjugation. It's breaking free from anything that doesn't align with life energy. The topic of fertility, the attempt to castrate people under the guise of mental health. The people that were not the offenders. One of the cases I saw was a lady that actually actively began to attack her psychiatrist. Now, the entire neighborhood knew that psychiatrist, and they were like, yeah, that psychiatrist is a bit problematic. She had diagnoses that were belonging in the, Victorian era more than in our times. All the people that knew her, they're like, I don't get it. For that woman, this woman that was had medical experiments done on her since childhood, that woman threatened that psychiatrist. Yes, she was not wearing Moldavite or anything, but thinking back, and I also saw what they were trying to cause people disability by force. And then that woman was programmed to be a woman that would harm men. And I'm like, oh, that's the wave of the women that would harm men. I actually did not communicate with her because she was saying things that were of sexual boundary violation also towards women. And for me, it was like, okay, I protect my now Moldavite with Uranus in Gemini is going to bring about the waves of Uranus in Gemini. So it's labor rights, residences, cities, the agendas around cities. Think about the waves of MK Ultra lifelong compensations that happen. And then to try to subjugate Moldavite was like to try to subjugate Uranus. It makes things even worse for those who try to oppress.